Welcome and hello from Alex, with a story from r/entitled parents, where an entitled mom demands her child play with a pricey prop despite objection. Coming up next is a story from No Pomegranate 4794. A mom got mad at me because I wouldn't let her kid play with an expensive prop. I am just done with entitled parents raising the future entitled sect of the next generation. I work in entertainment, and one of the shows I am in offers backstage tours. I was walking around when I passed by a group taking a tour. At that moment, they were looking at some of our props, including one of the ones I used during the show. That prop costs roughly around $4,000, and that's considered one of the cheaper props we have. I saw a kid eyeing my prop, and his mom said, "Yeah, you can touch it and hold it." I quickly stepped forward and go, "Excuse me, I am sorry, but please don't touch any of the props." Entitled mom, "But I promised my son he could." Me, "I am sorry, but these are very expensive and delicate." Entitled mom, emphasis heavily, "But I promised my son." I don't do well with confrontation, so I just kind of stood there smiling and with pleading eyes found the tour guide, who thankfully noticed that I was not having a pleasant conversation and stepped in. She threw a big stink about her kid not being able to play. Ugh, this entitled mom is the worst. $4,000 is no joke, and it sounds like these props are delicate on top of that. A little roughhousing and that thing could be toast. It's like she has no respect for other people's property. Maybe if the mom had actually listened to Opie from the beginning and explained to her son why he couldn't touch the props, things could have been different. But it sounds like she was more concerned about keeping her promise, a promise that shouldn't have been made in the first place, than respecting the rules. Good on the tour guide for stepping in, though. Honestly, some people are just oblivious. Opie did the right thing by protecting the props, even if it was a bit awkward. Hopefully, this encounter will be a learning experience for that kid, and maybe his mom too. Coming up next is a story from Creative Pirate 2819. Father wants me to give him my settlement money. Regarding my last post today, when I am back I need call the court regarding how I'll get money, so I may be receiving it today. I am just worried about how to tell my dad that I won't be giving any as it's my money. My mother thinks I should just give him £50 out of it or 100 to shut him up. But I don't want to even do that. I'm 18 now and it's money from my accident. I know he expects even more than that, but I hate the idea of giving him the satisfaction of how controlling my money. This is outrageous. Opie's dad sounds like a real piece of work. An accident settlement is supposed to help Opie recover, not line his dad's pockets. It's incredible that Opie's mom would even suggest giving him any of it. This money belongs to Opie, period. Maybe if Opie had a clear plan for the money, it would be easier to shut down his dad's demands. Is Opie saving for college or a place of their own? Maybe some medical bills need to be covered. Having a concrete reason for needing all the money could help shut down the conversation. Honestly, Opie shouldn't feel bad about setting boundaries. It's Opie's money, and they have the right to decide how it's spent. Good on Opie for not giving in to the pressure. Coming up next is a story from JoshKart. I see why your kid sucks. I've worked with kids for the past decade. This means I've had both the pleasure and absolute displeasure of interacting with parents. You're on our entitled parents, so you know these parents were less than ideal. I work at a swim school, and part of my job is overseeing swim lessons. One day we had a child not following the rules, disrupting the class, and generally not behaving, and was told more than a dozen times to follow the rules. At one point, this child decides to sit on their kickboard in the middle of the pool next to smaller swimmers. For those of you who don't know, kickboards submerged underwater can pop up fast enough to cause bodily harm enough to warrant a medical visit. Concerned about the safety of that swimmer and those around them, I raised my voice to get the swimmer off of the kickboard. After all the swimmers came back, I had the swimmer who sat on the kickboard climb out so I can explain why I had to raise my voice and why we have that rule. The mother then came towards me to yell how I can't raise my voice and it's wrong. I had the swimmer climb out. I tried to explain everything that led to me raising my voice, but refused to listen. She then asked who's my manager, which I replied I am. Not happy with that fact, asked for my information, presumably to find a way to complain about me. Later, the husband came to further escalate the situation, demanding to know who was above me, and for some reason found it acceptable to put his hands on me without my consent. My best guess was he wanted to intimidate me and try to put me in my place. Experiencing both parents, I saw why this child was entitled as they were. Luckily, another parent saw this and defended me in an email stating the parents of this particular swimmer were out of line. Bless that parent and parents like them. Ugh, those parents sound like a nightmare. Security blanket kickboard in the middle of the pool? Totally unsafe. Good on OP for raising their voice to get the kids' attention. Safety first, always. And then the parents come in. Yikes. Seems like the kid learned his bad behavior right at home. Refusing to listen, demanding a manager, the husband getting physical, totally unacceptable. It's good another parent saw the whole thing and spoke up. A little faith in humanity restored. OP handled this situation like a champ, staying calm and explaining the situation even when faced with those awful parents takes guts. Don't let this discourage you, OP. There are plenty of supportive parents out there who appreciate what you do to keep their kids safe. Coming up next is a story from M4 Austral, and if you like the video so far, don't forget to like the video. It only takes a second and helps me out a lot. Mother is praying for me to be disabled person in a wheelchair. Yes, it's completely true because I reject to be slave girl to the Islamic customs and traditions imposed on females. I do everything, clean my room, my clothes, the dishes I use, but she doesn't say anything to my male brothers or her husband. Rather, she comes to me and tells me that I never help her, instead of telling them to stop being lazy like her. If I write a long paragraph here of what she said, it never will end, she blaming me for her life choices and says to me I destroyed her life. When I try to be independent from her, this is what happens. She tells me that I am a selfish daughter. Because of the bad words she said, I started to feel like I had no value. How does a mother behave like this with her children? Anyone read this? PLS wish for a stronger mentality to counties the fight to get out of their home. I don't love her or the father. Both of them are sick people. They had children for a retirement plan. It's truly disheartening to hear about such a toxic family dynamic, where a mother seems to harbor such resentment towards her own child. The behavior described is not only emotionally abusive but also deeply unfair. No child should be subjected to such harsh treatment, especially from their own parent. The mother's actions, blaming her child for her own life choices and wishing ill upon her, are reprehensible. It's clear that there are deep-seated issues within the family that need to be addressed. The lack of equality and respect within the household is alarming, with one child being unfairly burdened while others are given preferential treatment. As for prevention, it's difficult to say definitively what could have been done differently, given the complexity of family dynamics. However, fostering open communication, mutual respect, and seeking outside support such as counseling or therapy could potentially have mitigated some of the issues before they escalated to this point. Ultimately, it's a tragic situation that highlights the importance of addressing toxic behaviors within families and prioritizing the well-being of all members. Coming up next is a story from McAfee. My mom hates me and my brother. So let's begin this with backstory. My mom was a really great mom, but she started changing little by little into this witch of a person. She was very loving and affectionate. Now she tells to me and my brother's face that she hates us. Most recent example, today, the day I am writing this, she berated my brother for not being hungry at breakfast. Then after a brief silence turned to my father and shouted I want a divorce. Then she proceeds to, and I am not kidding, curse his entire bloodline, including me and my brother, say she hopes my grandma, dad's mom, chokes on her own bodily fluids, and after all that when she kicked our dad out of the house she walks up to me and says I know you hate me in this monotone with a hint of cockiness voice. Honestly, this isn't the first time she's done things exactly like this. She has kicked our dad out of the house because he was worried about his mom whilst her mom was in hospital. Both of my grandmas are very sickly. And was mad at us because we were upset that she kicked our dad out. This woman is very insane. It's truly heartbreaking to hear about such a deteriorating family situation. The transformation of a once loving mother into someone who harbors such intense animosity towards her own children is deeply distressing. The level of verbal abuse and emotional turmoil described in the story is absolutely harrowing. Regarding the bad guy or antagonist in this situation, it's clear that the mother's behavior is the primary source of conflict. Her sudden and extreme outbursts, coupled with the emotional manipulation directed towards her children, paint a disturbing picture of unchecked hostility and instability. As for prevention, it's challenging to pinpoint specific actions that could have averted this situation entirely. However, early intervention through therapy or counseling might have provided an outlet for addressing underlying issues within the family dynamic. Additionally, fostering open communication and empathy could potentially have helped to mitigate some of the escalating tensions before they reach such destructive level. Coming up next is a story from EvanGoemer. Mom tries to cut in line at theme park and leaves after one ride. This all started in the morning when we woke up at 4:30 a.m. in order to go to Universal Studios, Florida. And when we get there, we get through security and we wait to get into the park. But when we get to the line for early entry, another family in front of us, and they are taking a minute, but then my mom gets mad and tries to cut them. And when they get denied by the person, she walks off complaining to my father the entire time on the way to the ride. When we get to the ride, we get on it just fine and it goes well, but after she gets off, she is just saying she wants to go home immediately because her hair got slightly wet, and even though we planned to stay all day, she just wants to go home. On the way to the car, I asked to get some water in a cup for free because they have that there, and she says no because she needs to get home so fast, so I end up being thirsty on the way home, and I am currently in the car right now writing this. Ugh, that sounds like a frustrating way to spend a theme park day. Your mom cutting in line is pretty inconsiderate, especially after waking up at 4:30 a.m. to get there early, and bailing after one ride because of slightly wet hair. That's a major bummer. It sounds like she let her impatience ruin the whole day for everyone. Honestly, I can't blame you for being thirsty, Opie. Theme parks are dehydrating. Denying you a free cup of water just seems petty, especially considering the rush to leave. Maybe your dad snuck you some water or a juice box on the way home. Here's hoping. Better luck next time at the park, Opie. Hopefully you can convince your mom to be a little more patient and enjoy the experience. Maybe you can even plan some activities for the day that she'll find enjoyable, something less likely to get her hair wet. That wraps up r/EntitledParents. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to visit my Spotify channel. Link is in the description, so you can listen to the best Reddit story while being outside, and remember to hit that subscribe button.